Smells so good. Look how pretty these are. Cucumbers popping everywhere. Hey friends, welcome back to the Backyard Gardener. And guess what? Today I am showing you how I make my own compost. I'm going to show you how you could do it too in a few simple steps. Right now is the perfect time to start a compost because you're cutting your grass, you have grass clippings, you have all different things coming out of your garden that you're going to be cutting down and replanting for succession growing. Perfect ingredients to start your own compost bin, and it's 100% organic because it's from your own backyard. So that's a great thing, and it's going to save you tons of money on buying bag soil and fertilizers and all that stuff. So let's go ahead, let's join the club and start composting, and let's grow. Check. All right, so this first pile is all done. This is a completed pile of compost, and what you see, it's nice and black, very crumbly. As you see, it's just crumbling through my hands, and it's just full of life because there's so much that's in the compost that you don't even realize, it's like microorganisms and everything like that that really help the roots grow. This is really good stuff to feed your plants, and it builds such a. The whole idea behind composting is to build the soil healthy, so you don't have to just load it up with just fertilizer. But this stuff is so beautiful. I'm about to take this straight to my garden bed and just feed all my tomato plants, my pepper plants, basically you name it, will eat this and just survive. But look how healthy this is. You can't buy this. This is nice, just straight out organic matter stuff that I just put in here and put the right amount of greens and browns together and just made this compost. You can't buy this stuff really. Ask a farmer, they'll tell you this is the best stuff. This is the gold here, the black gold they call it. This stuff is wonderful. And this will really just make your garden so big and lushful, and you'll have such a great harvest. And all these people out buying all these fertilizers, their plants, you have to more so depend on the weather, how it's going to come out. This right here, you're building the foundation of your plant from the soil, from the ground up. So whether you have bad weather or not, you're still going to have a healthy, good plant because of this stuff right here, no matter what fertilizer you use. All right, let's go into more of it. So behind me is two active compost piles right now that I have going. And I have one over here, and I also have one over here. So I'm going to explain them to you real fast. Let's kind of go over to this one. So in this compost pile, you notice it's very chunky, and you can see a lot of bits of leaves. You still kind of see like very chunky items in here. You kind of really identify what's what. I still see grass clippings. I see some little wood shavings, all different kinds of items like that right here. And basically this pile has been cooking for probably about 3 weeks now, and it's starting to look really good. And to really know if you have a very good compost pile is when it doesn't smell. If it smells disgusting, most likely you have your ratios are off and something's going wrong, or it's getting too much water. If you notice, it's sunny right now, and in most of the day it's shady over here. So that's another big factor, is you want something that's partially in the shade. You don't want it sunny all day, or you don't want it in the shade all day, because if it's in the shade all day, it's going to most likely be cool, and it's going to more likely try to rot. And if it's too hot and sunny, like if it's too sunny out, it's going to dry out and it's basically going to take forever to decompose. So I chose a spot in the corner of my house, in the corner of the yard, not in the house, but in the corner of my backyard, the backyard gardener. And actually, I should say, I chose a corner in the backyard gardener's yard. Just being goofy, sorry. Where, like I said, it gets afternoon sun, and it's basically in shade all day. So, like I said, it's very important. You can cover it too. So if you get something that's sunny all the time, you can put a little roof over top of it. I like to introduce air into it, so that's why I don't really cover it too much. But also, if it rains a lot, you got to be careful that it doesn't get saturated and it's just going to start to rot after a while. So, long story short, is partial shade is good, too much sun is no good, or all shade is no good. So, you got to kind of like figure that out. And I built 2 sections, this one and this section right here. And the reason why is because the finished product, actually, come over here. This one down here, this finished product, I don't know if you can see it because I'm in the sun, the shade, but this finished product I just showed you is what I pulled out of this bin here. And basically all this compost that's behind me now was in that bin. This is near finished bin. And then I put my finished product right here because it's going to go right out to my garden. So basically I took all this stuff here I took it all from there, moved it over to here, gave it a good turn, add some more water to it, and that's my new stuff. So let's go over the new stuff real quick. So come over here with me. It's like I'm in and out of the sun. I apologize. So basically over here, I'm going to give you a close-up so it gives you a little bit better of an idea. But we have 3 components you see right here. These are dried leaves. Hold them up in the sun for you. Behind me is some wood chips, and I take this basically out of the chicken coop. So it does have a little chicken poop in it, which is excellent. And this right here, this is actually an egg carton. So this is considered a brown, which is a carbon. Like I said, you need nitrogen items and carbon items to come together along with water, and that's your compost. So basically, this is what you get eggs. I know I have chickens, but they're still young, and I haven't had any eggs, girls. Just putting that plug in there. If you can get me some eggs, it'd be great. But anyway, so I get this at Costco, the white eggs, and I just basically break them up and throw them right into the pile. And another item I have here is cardboard. And you want to take cardboard that is just plain old cardboard, corrugated cardboard, see? This is a carbon, because the reason why I'm showing these ideas is because, like, when you get into the colder months, if you live in a cold climate, I'm in zone 7, so I get the best of both worlds. Cold in, I get summer, winter, spring, and fall. I get all of them. Anyway, you don't have always leaves laying around, or sometimes you don't have grass clippings laying around, so you could use other things like the kitchen scraps, for different nitrogen items. And I'll look up some other nitrogen items that you could use during the winter, since you don't cut your lawn. But yeah, that's why I never get rid of leaves, because I use them for mulch, and I also use them inside the compost area. So I have the dried leaves, I have the cardboard cut up, and like I was saying, you don't want to use cardboard that has any painting or decals on it, or stickers or plastic. You don't want that in your mulch. I don't really use cardboard too much, but it breaks down really good, and it's a good carbon. It acts really fast, so sometimes I will. If I know if the cardboard doesn't look too bad and doesn't look like it's got a bunch of writing on it with paint and all that, then I'll use it. And the egg cartons work excellent because we eat a lot of eggs in our house. And if you notice behind that, I had my son, little Jay, cut the lawn. And wow, fresh grass clippings are excellent. No, I'm just kidding. My chickens love them though. Anyway, so this is a nitrogen item. This is something that's very important to composting, is nitrogen, because without this, you're not going to have compost. So usually in the wintertime, I have a lot of kitchen scraps, or I pull things out of the garden, during the colder months. And I put in, like, the bottom of the broccoli plants. When it gets cold out, into the frost area, you still have some of your brassicas, like your broccolis or Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, the plants themselves. I put those in as greens, nitrogens. You could use the lettuces. If you go to the store, you cut up some Brussels sprouts, you could use the Brussels sprouts. the ends of the lettuces. If you buy, it's in the middle of the winter, you could use these because you could compost in the winter too. It doesn't have to be just summer. Because actually, when it sits underneath the snow, it actually helps it maintain a nice isolated temperature. You'll dig into it; it's warm. You'll be shocked to come out and see how warm your compost actually is in the middle of the winter. But these items here are very crucial. I'm just going to go over them one more time. We have some dried leaves. You can use green leaves; they just take longer. Um, Cardboard, just some corrugated cardboard, and like a winner, big time winner is something like an egg carton, something like that. They break down. You even use paper towels. I wouldn't say use the ones with like a design on them. I use the Kirkland ones because they're just plain old paper towels, and I put them in here too. Once in a while. Not, I don't put every one of them in there. Once in a while, if I wipe off the sink or something with just water, no chemicals, then sometimes I'll just throw it in there too. Just give me a little extra breakdown. And then I also use pine shavings from the chicken coop. If you don't have a chicken coop, then that's fine. You could, save your leaves. Don't throw your leaves away. They're it's like throwing money away in a sense. And then your grass clippings. Don't throw any grass clippings away. Or if you have a neighbor. Oh, speaking of grass clippings, you got to make sure that if you are putting grass clippings in there, my grass, I don't put any weed killer or none of those items on my grass, so I don't have to worry about it. Number one, I don't like using chemicals, and I don't have to. And number two, my chickens like to eat the grass. And number three, I like to use my compost. And I do not using chemicals. You're gonna herbicides and all that stuff. You're gonna really just destroy any idea of making compost using grass. So just if you could get away from using any kind of weed killer in your grass and stuff like that, that'd be probably more beneficial to you. Or if you need to have the front yard beautiful, maybe don't put any weed killer in the backyard and use the backyard grass or something for the Backyard Gardener channel. Just kidding. I just like being goofy once in a while. It's a nice sunny day. It's the day after 4th of July. Oh, by the way, I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. We did, and it was just so beautiful out. It was amazing. I'm here in New Jersey, so it's like we went through heat waves. We had fires. We had, big wildfires. We also had rain that just never ending rain. And finally, we had beautiful weather out. Right now, it's like 84 degrees out, but it's not really humid out, which is unusual. So, but anyway, back to what we're doing. And I just want to show you the other pile real quick. Once again, this pile here, this is basically, like I said, a pile that's already been cooking for a little while. So if you see right here, oh, here you go. This is another item that's really good. This is actually coffee grinds. Coffee grinds are amazing. I think they actually might be in nitrogen. I'll have to look that up. I'll put it up on the screen. But I feel like, oh, look at that. This is an eggshell. So I take eggshells. I'm supposed to crunch them up, but sometimes we eat so many eggs, I got quite a few kids, and we like to have bacon, egg, and cheese in the morning. I don't have time to sit there and crush all the eggs. So I just kind of like throw them right in the pile, and eventually they get crushed. So you see, and right here, like I said, I just moved it to over here. So this is a little piece of onion. Little tiny piece that's like a scrap that you can use. Onions, lettuce. I precaution you against using items that have a lot of seeds in them, like tomatoes, because you'll have tomato plants all over the place. But if you do your compost correctly, it should get hot enough where, if you do the right mix, I should say, it should get hot enough where it kills the seeds. And because it should get over 100 degrees inside your compost heap. So if you put like 50% carbon, 50% nitrogen items, which is green, if you look it up, it's green items versus brown items. And then you want the compost to be wet, but not like where you could squeeze it and it drips any water, just damp. Like, let me show you. This right here, this is wet. Let me get a handful here. This is wet, and it does not smell. but let me see if I get it in the sun. This is wet, but you can't. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're in the show now. This will not drip any water. And this is the perfect moisture level. I don't know if you can get a close up of that or not, but so that's Chipmunk. He's my rooster, and he likes to be pretty much center attention. He probably wants something like a watermelon or something. And one more time, and let me show you that gold. I'm gonna put my pitchfork down. Pitchforks, by the way, are way, way better than shovels to use. Look at that nice gold. Oh, trying to get the camera to look at me here. That nice gold here. So basically, just to wrap things up, the process would be easy to build your own little composts. I mean, you could use the barrels where you put it in there and spin, but it's really not necessary. You could actually just build something like I did here. And this actually, believe it or not, was from my kid's swing set. They're a little older, so they didn't use the swing set anymore. So I used part of that for my composting area. And another spot I'll show you, I'll use it for my chickens, my new chicks. Keep them outside so they just have a nice time out in the weather and just really get used to, like, all the distractions, the noise, the wind, the other birds flying around, neighbors, the dogs, everything. I put them outside instead of leaving them indoors too long, because I like them to get the sun too, and they grow up faster and just more friendlier, I believe, from my experience, I should say. But anyway, you could get pallets from any store. Make sure if you get the pallets, though, don't get the ones that are treated lumber. The treated lumber ones are usually the painted ones, like the blue or the red ones. Don't get those because they have chemicals in them, so they don't rot. Make sure you just use the plain old ugly oak ones or pine ones. And you could basically do almost like what I did. Put a center, splitting the two, a backsplash. I put my backsplash. I don't want anything to fall through, so I put it like as a whole piece, almost like a piece of plywood in a sense. Some people use cement. I don't recommend cement blocks because they hold the moisture, or sometimes they pull the moisture out of the pile. The blocks do. I would just use some. Just use some. I was just lucky to have the swing set lying around, which is made out of cedar, so it works out good. But I would just use some pallets. Just go to some of those hardware stores. They have them out in the front. They get pallets of like soil in, and they want to get rid of the pallets. So a lot of times they put them out for free, or you could just ask them. If you have an Ace Hardware or whatever kind of, if you have hardware stores, and put one on each side, like a railing here. And mine is available to breathe because I do want air in here. So I have, say if you put one pallet here, I have another pallet there, one more pallet in the middle, another one across the back, and another one right here. Basically, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About say 5 pallets. You could get a good start and make it for free. Some people do like to put a front on there. I don't particularly like to do that, so I'm actually going to start covering mine with like a tarp or something like that, because it's been raining a lot. So that's another way. I like the air to get in there. I learned it off of some of the pros. Let it get some air, because if it doesn't get air, it's going to rot. So that's why mine's open front like this. And then, like I said, excuse me, I'm going to put a tarp over mine when it rains. So the other thing is, every 2 weeks you want to come out and you want to basically turn the pile over. So sometimes I don't want to do it, because if I do it, my chickens are going to run over here because they love getting all the worms. I'll pull it forward. I'll do a little bit. I'll pull it all forward, and then I'll just start digging right in, kind of giving it a little shake, turning it. And then I'll do it over here, turning it, and I'll turn it. I'll just go through the whole pile like that. And then when you go through the pile like that, you could also check the moisture and make sure it's got a good moisture level. You want to make sure there's no big, dry, patchy spots, because it's not going to compost at that point. So I think I touched base on a lot of the things. Using the pallets, and on the bottom, I don't put anything. because the earthworms like to come up through the bottom. It's just right on the bare ground. And the other thing you could put in there too is, I just remembered, is you could actually put some of your weeds in there from like the garden or whatever. I wouldn't be scared about putting weeds in here, because if you're doing it right, you're putting 50% carbon, 50% nitrogen. You're spraying it with water with a hose. Just go over it with a hose. And you could layer it like a lasagna to actually make it even faster. Put carbon on the bottom, which would be like your cardboard, your browns, your leaves, the egg cartons and stuff like that. And then on top of that, put your greens, which is your nitrogen items, which is grass, your weeds from the garden, any clippings you get off any plants that you have. Do not throw them away, except tomatoes. Don't put tomatoes in there, because even the tomato plants seem to carry a lot of bacterial things, and you don't want to carry that in, because it will stay in the soil into your new plants. But if you see some, I try to avoid anything that looks like it's got a lot of bacteria or just issues with the plant. Sometimes I'll just toss those. But like if you tear out your cucumber plants to put in new ones, take them out and put them right in the pile. Same thing with zucchini. You take the zucchini, you cut off some of the leaves in there. Make sure you're putting it on here. Always have like a bucket next to your garden, so you don't miss out on those nice nitrogen items like the greens and stuff like that. So you layer it like a lasagna. You ever make lasagna? It's like, you put a little bit of sauce. You'll put if you're like meat lasagna, a little bit of put a little bit of pasta, some cheese and sauce, cheese, a lot of cheese. Basically just layer it. Do the same thing with these piles here. Put your carbon, your greens, your carbon, your greens, and then that includes also if you want to throw in your eggshells and your regular kitchen scraps and stuff like that. Because the eggshells, they'll give you, they'll put in basically other nutrients into like calciums and stuff like that. They'll put the calciums into it'll take a while to break down, but it's going to make your soil very healthy, because eggshells have calcium in it. And that's like one of the biggest things that you feed a chicken is calcium. So the shells are nice and hard, but your plants need calcium too. So when you're making these compost piles, you're basically, the biggest thing is, like, people think to make a healthy garden, healthy plants, is to load up with fertilizer. I use fertilizer, but I use it mostly in my initial, when I initially plant them, and sometimes when they're fruiting. But I like to use this stuff right here. I top dress it with this beautiful. I keep showing you because it's like, it's such amazing, because how much you spend on soil. Think about it. Put it down in the comments. How much do you spend on soil? That's one of your biggest costs. Unless you're, if you're not growing your plants, that's probably the biggest cost, is buying plants. But your other bigger cost is, like, if you have a garden bed that's 4x8, that's a lot of soil you have to fill that thing in. Imagine just putting a couple bags of soil, and then the rest of it like compost that you made yourself, and a little bit of fertilizer. And then later on down the road, you just put a little bit more compost on there. It's going to be a wonderful. You'll just think about how much you spend on soil. If you buy a bag of soil, you could buy the really cheap stuff, which is just topsoil, probably $2 or $3, but it's very sterile. There's no nutrients in it at all. It's just a filler. You could use that for the bottom. I always add a little bit of like sand for drainage. And then from that point on, you want to put something that's very like crumbly, so your soil gets oxygen down below, because it's called anaerobic, is when you're, sorry to be so long-winded, but I like to explain these things because a lot of people have these simple questions, and I'm trying to answer as much as I can, thinking from when I started doing it. But what happens is your soil gets anaerobic, and once it gets anaerobic, plants do not grow, and like your roots they'll rot. And it's basically, anaerobic means when your soil gets no oxygen at all, and it's just basically almost like the water at the bottom of a river is like murky, muddy. You ever touch it and just goes up, like, just makes this murky mess. And if you take it out, it smells.
So like I was saying, if your soil does go anaerobic, it starts to smell sour, it feels really slimy, and it also stays soggy for way too long. So it's definitely anaerobic at that point. So that means that you're not getting enough oxygen in your soil, so that will basically suffocate the plant roots. And this diagram will show you it's basically like your soil's drowning and your plants are gasping for air.
All right, so here we are. This is the pile I showed you that had all the fresh ingredients. It's kind of like we're making some kind of nice dinner for somebody. It's going to be for the plants. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to mix everything together and then we're going to water it down. So basically, I'm going to take what I showed you before, these nice dried leaves, some egg cartons. They break down excellent as a carbon, and also some cardboard, which is another carbon, and some of this wood chips, excellent carbon. And then we have all this nice, really fresh cut grass that was just cut today. So I'm gonna mix all of them up. It kind of show you how easy it is. It's nice, light, and fluffy. It's so much easier if you use a pitchfork to do this. You try to do it with anything else, a shovel or a rake, you're gonna have a really hard time. Let's just get this nice and blended well. See how it's going together really easy? Oh my gosh. I have the superstar of the show coming. A little chipmunk. You here to make sure I'm doing it right? Yeah? You gonna be here when I spray the hose? Anytime I start mixing this stuff up, the chickens know to come over here because they're generally worms involved or some kind of nice bugs that they like to eat. All right, so this is really mixed nice. You guys can see that. Let's see if I can zoom in for you here. Look at that nice mix. Very well blended. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just hit it real quick with some water. Chipmunk, good thing you weren't in the pile now. And this is basically all you have to do. I'm showing you a live demonstration. Getting everything nice and wet. Remember, this stuff's bone dry because I just put it in here. Now I'm going to mix it again. Get stuff in the back. All right, let's go ahead and mix it. Let's put some more water on there. And this is how fast you could do it. It actually doesn't really take that long. I think the longest thing is building it out of the pallets. The second longest thing is going to Costco and getting an egg crate, taking all the eggs out and putting the egg carton in there. And the third longest thing would be cutting the lawn. All right, I'm going to do it one more time after this. That's starting to get heavier and it's starting to flop. That means it's starting to get pretty wet. My gosh, even just since it's so dry out today, might just do it one more time after this. But I just want to give you a demonstration to show you how to do this. And it basically answers all the questions that you might have, hopefully. The first time you do, you want to give it a good drench. But as you turn it, you'll notice it will hold and retain its own water. You don't have to drench it. Just kind of keep it maintained nice and moist. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do it a fourth time. All right. Stuff is going to be definitely breaking down quickly. I could tell it's such a good blend. This is basically from the grass from my front yard. So it's about 4 full bags of grass. with about the same amount, probably a little bit more leaves, because leaves are so fluffy. Seems like a lot of leaves, but it's really not. All right, so it's really nice and wet in there. I'm gonna give it its final drench down over the top. My chicken's trying to get in there, but you go in there. Not gonna be what you expect. They actually like going in and eat the grass too. This last time I'm gonna give it a nice little drink. And then when you come out, I would say probably in another week from now, turn it again. And don't be surprised you start seeing the pile get really small. And by 3 or 4 weeks, this pile will be half the size, but it'll be really getting to the point where it's ready to use. Sometimes I wish I found a video like this to show me in the very beginning how to do this. And I know this works because I use it myself. And I showed you in the very beginning of the video that nice black gold that comes from this. So I drenched this down really good. And that basically takes care of that part. And maybe a little close up what it looks like. Nice blend. That's pretty much it. I'll show you my little partner in crime here. Chipmunk. Hey, up here. He's the one that's always getting into the piles. All right, let's move on.
So this is basically the time to wrap it up. And I just want to let you know, you don't need to spend a whole bunch of money on these fancy bins. You don't need to spend a fortune on fertilizer. Just make those 2 piles, have a little patience, let nature take its course. And that's all it takes to grow your own compost and grow a way better garden. So drop a comment below if you're composting or if you're ready to start composting, and hit the like button if you want to save some money and grow a healthier plants. So this is Jay from the Backyard Gardener. I had a great time making this video for you, and I would basically see you in the next one.